When looking for a man or trying to figure out who you should date, you should be looking for these qualities in whoever you go for. This episode has been requested so many times, and I'm so excited to get to make it for you guys today because I think that this list is going to be so helpful in helping you see what's really important in a man and in a partner for the future. Because there's a lot of conflicting viewpoints, especially on like platforms like TikTok, on what's actually important in a man. And I think a lot of people actually get it wrong, or they get confused, or they just forget what's really important and what's actually going to play a role in your long-term happiness in a relationship. So without further ado, I am going to get into my list of all of my top green flags in a guy that I think are amazing things that you should be looking for and that will make you happy in the future. The first green flag is someone who expands your capacity to love. You want to pay attention to the side of you that someone brings out. This is so important, actually. I cannot overstate how important this is. You need to pay attention to the type of person that you are when you're with them, because you can be the same exact person, but different men can bring out different sides in you. And I've actually experienced this before, because I know there was this guy that I was talking to in November of my senior year, and there was nothing horrible about the guy. He was really successful and driven and motivated, but there was just something off about him. There was this shadow side of insecurity and arrogance about him. And when people have a shadow side that's really obvious, it can bring out the worst in you too. So I noticed whenever I talked to him, it wasn't I was being a bad person. It's just it brought out this sassy side of me that was trying hard to prove herself. And that's not the type of person that I want to be. I don't want to be a sassy person who's kind of rude and kind of snarky. I want to be someone who has a soft heart and is easily able to show love to people. So the guy I'm dating now, he brings out this side of me that's really, I already am a super soft and loving person because I've read so many books on feminine energy and how to expand your capacity to love. But I notice when I'm around him, I'm even more soft and loving to those around me. And even my family notices that I'm just more soft and loving. And that's a really good thing because the right people will amplify the good traits that you have in yourself. So if you're around someone and they're not amplifying good traits that you have, then you may want to question if that's the right person for you. Because the right person will absolutely bring out the best in you and will make you want to be a better person. And that's a really important thing to look for. That's almost number one on the list, because who you are when you're with this person is going to determine the trajectory of your future together. So you want to make sure you're with someone who brings out all the good qualities in you. And I want to add that as women, this is especially important because I do believe that at our core, every single one of us wants to be soft and loving, whether you're willing to admit it or not. I feel it's in the feminine nature to want to be able to be soft and loving. And with the right people, you feel emotionally safe enough to be soft and loving. But with a man who's not right for you, let's say someone who's inconsistent or someone who doesn't accept you fully, you're not going to feel emotionally safe. So that part of you that's really soft and loving doesn't really feel safe to come out. So if you find yourself guarded and trying hard to impress someone, that's a sign that they're not right for you, because emotional safety is a huge thing you should be looking for. That soft and loving side of you can only come out if you feel you're really emotionally safe with someone. And so pay attention to if this person makes you feel emotionally safe, because that is a huge green flag. And look, sometimes we have inner issues and we make ourselves feel emotionally unsafe, especially if you have relationship anxiety. And that's something I've struggled a little bit with, even though I've read lots of books on it. I think I'm a lot better now, but initially when I first met the guy I was dating, I did have some issues of my own where like he wouldn't do anything to make me anxious, but sometimes I would just get worked up over little things in my mind, and then I'd start to worry about things. But the important thing in any relationship, and I should go ahead and say this, is if you communicate those issues to whoever you're dating, like, do they try to step in and help you, and can you work through it together? Because that is a really good sign. Like, even if it's something that's kind of your fault because you're like overthinking something, if you explain this to the person that you're dating and they do what they can to make you feel more emotionally safe, that's a really big green flag. So that's something very important that you should be looking for. Because in that way, like, people can help you kind of heal if you have relationship anxiety or if you feel like you have trust issues. Like, a good man will help you heal from that. He will not exacerbate the issues that you already have or make you feel more anxious. So emotional safety is a huge thing also, because as a woman, when you feel emotionally safe, this is so huge for your personal growth and creative growth, because like your feminine energy and your creative energy come out when you feel emotionally safe. Like when you don't feel afraid of judgment, that's when you're able to make your best creative work. And so for me, for example, with this podcast, that's really important to me that I'm dating someone who makes me feel emotionally safe and not judged. Because there are guys who've liked me before, and this actually happens like a lot, where guys will like me, but they're not really fully supportive of my podcast or the other stuff that I do. So it's like guys can like you maybe for your looks or for other traits that you have, but if they don't really fully support you and the work you're doing either in your career or in school, you're not going to feel fully safe putting yourself out there with those things, because it's like you don't have their safety net of support. And just having that safety net of support from someone who really just like is there for you and everything that you do and every endeavor that you have, that's really huge, and that's going to help you a lot when it comes to creativity. And even when I'm making these episodes, like, I feel safe to do so, and I feel like, you know, I would never actually let anyone get in the way of like me making episodes that I want to make, because I believe authenticity is a huge thing. But even then, it's really nice to know that like if I put myself out there or I make an episode on a topic I normally wouldn't, it's like I'm not going to be judged. So I feel like I have creative safety, and because of that, like my good ideas can come out because I don't feel like I'm putting on a filter to make sure that like the man I'm dating will approve of me, which is a really good thing, and that's something you want to keep in mind. Now, this next point is huge, and it's something I already kind of touched on, but someone who handles conflict without fighting. So a patient and gentle man who hears you out and doesn't see conversations about issues as a you versus me thing, but instead as an us together working to fix the issue thing. So someone who immediately puts in the effort to fix things and is happy to do what he can to make you feel emotionally safe, so that, as I said, your femininity and your creativity can all shine and come out. This is super important because there are guys who will like you, but who don't have these green flags. And you have to have like the self-discipline to say, hey, you know, I might be attracted to this person who likes me back, but if they don't have these green flags, you should not put yourself through the pain of being in a relationship with them. Because 2 years ago, I was in a relationship where this man did not have this quality I'm talking about. And so some people, I will tell you, enjoy arguing and they enjoy fighting. And it's because I think, especially when it's people with an anxious attachment style, what happened to me was the guy I was dating 2 years ago, he was always afraid that I was going to lose interest in him. And so some people like to start arguments and fight because when they do so, and when they're the one getting mad at you and making a big deal over things, they all of a sudden have the reins back in their hands. They have the power. And so it puts them in this position of making them feel safe because they're like, okay, like everything's fine. I'm in control. This person is begging for my forgiveness. That makes them feel like they're emotionally safe, but it comes at your expense. So you want to make sure that you're avoiding those types of people, or anyone in general who, like, when you try to communicate something that's bothering you, of course in a rational way, someone who like brushes it off or doesn't really listen to you, that's really bad. I've seen this trend like going around. I see all these TikToks all the time, and I really do need to get off of TikTok because the content I see on there is like so depressing. But I see people posting screenshots of like text messages from their boyfriends, and like they'll complain about something. And men nowadays are becoming like really nonchalant. So you'll say like, oh, I'm really like not feeling too well about this, or I'm nervous about this. And they'll be like, okay, cool. Like something super nonchalant. That's not what you want to go for. Because I've like talked to guys like that before, and you are never going to feel like you're emotionally stable if you're with those people. You're not going to feel emotionally safe. So I advise that you look for someone who, when you communicate in a rational way, which means you lay out an issue just without charged emotion, without pointing fingers, you say, hey, I've been feeling this way. I think it's because of these things. Is there anything that we can do to work through this? I apologize if it's my fault. Like something along those lines. So you're taking accountability if there's anything you've done, and you're just laying out the issue flatly. The one thing you never, ever, ever want to do is start up a conversation by saying, I hate it when you do this. You're the worst. Like, why don't you do this like other guys do it? No, 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 no. That's like a recipe for a fight. You have to just lay out your issue flatly because you don't want to point fingers. I will tell you, oftentimes, people don't even realize that they're doing something that's triggering you or making you uncomfortable. Like 9 times out of 10, it's just something they don't even realize they're doing. So you just want to lay out the issue in like a calm way. And then here's where the green flag comes in. What they should do then is step in also in a calm way and say like, hey, how can we work through this together? It should never, ever, ever be like a situation where you say you feel uncomfortable because of something, and then they take it personally and they get defensive and they get angry at you, like for having emotions. No one should ever be angry at you for having emotions, so long as you're not like unfairly blaming them for everything. So this is really important. You want to look for someone who you can handle conflict with. And as I said, whenever you have like an issue or something that you bring up, it should never be a you versus me thing. It should always be like an us working together kind of thing. So that's what you definitely want to look for in a guy. Someone who does not have anger issues and someone who's always patient and gentle. Even if they are irritated with you, let's say they're the one bringing up something that they're not happy about, they should still be gentle about it and they should still be kind to you and forgiving. You do not want to be with someone who like snaps at you over the littlest of things and then refuses to forgive you, because I've been there before and it was like a miserable time in my life because I'm not a fighter, you know. I don't want to fight. I just want things to be peaceful. Like, I'll do whatever I can if someone brings up an issue with me to make them feel better, because, like, I care. But I was in this situation where no matter what I did, no matter, you know, how much I apologized for these little things I wasn't even intentionally doing, this person would just get mad at me and they would, like, be so unforgiving. It was like they didn't want to move on from issues because, as I said, the person who's getting mad, they feel like they have power and it makes them feel safe. So that's a really bad thing. You definitely want to avoid situations that are like that, because there are men out there who will be very patient and gentle with you. My boyfriend, in this whole span of time, he hasn't gotten mad at me at all. Like, literally not at all. He's never been rude to me. He's never had an attitude with me. He's never done anything emotionally immature, like ghosting me like when he's upset, or just like icing me out. He's a very good communicator, like, and even when I bring up stuff that is bothering me in some way. And of course, he never does anything on purpose to bother me. He's never done anything wrong, to be honest. It's just little things sometimes I overthink. He's never mad about it. He's always like so understanding and so quick to like make me feel better. And then we work through things together, and then I come out of the situation becoming more like emotionally stable and like having less anxiety. And then he comes out of it knowing me better as a person because we've just communicated well. So that's the ideal. That's what you should be looking for. Okay, green flag number 3 is someone who loves God. And this is so important actually, because love with God is something special. And when someone has a good relationship with God, they've experienced unconditional love. I hope you've heard of agape love, which is the highest form of love that can be experienced. It describes the unconditional love that God shows for us, and it's like, think of it as the purest form of love that an individual can experience. That's like this unconditional love that forgives no matter what, that's always there for you, that's consistent. Like the love that God shows us, nothing can really compare to that. But if a man has a relationship with God, he's experienced that forgiveness from God. He's experienced that just love no matter what. And because of that, a man who has a relationship with God can show you something similar to that agape love. A man who has a relationship with God is better able to love you unconditionally and forgive you and be patient and gentle with you, because spending time with God, experiencing God's love, it makes you softer as a person and it makes you more loving and forgiving. And a man who has a relationship with God is going to do those things. And a man who's also read the scriptures on like how a husband should treat his wife, that's going to be someone you want to have in your life. Someone who has godly ideals and who looks at you in a godly way, not just like in terms of attractiveness or like even status, like money or fame. Someone who looks at you like as a child of God and loves you and respects you in that deep, unconditional way. That is what you want. And this may be controversial, and I'm sorry to say it, but a man who is like agnostic or atheist or doesn't have a relationship with God, they're just not going to be able to see you that way. They're not going to be able to love you as deeply. You really want someone who just sees you in that deep, godly way, because that's going to make all the difference, especially even when it comes to your relationship. Like, if you've read the scriptures on what love is, in Corinthians, you know how it says, like, I don't want to misquote this because I'd feel so bad if I did, but like, love keeps no record of rights and wrongs, like, love is gentle, love is patient. If a man has read those things, then he'll be better able to love you because he understands what love is and what love isn't. This is a concept I really want to make like a full podcast episode on, this idea of real love. There's this account on Twitter I absolutely love. I think his name is Robert Heimberg, and he's always posting these tweets about real love and how real love is like, it's not just physical attraction, and it's not just liking someone because they're similar to you. Real love is just this devotional, godly, unconditional love. And real love stems from the Bible. It's like this type of love that you can only show others once you understand like the way God has loved you. And so I think that that's something beautiful. And if you date a man who has a relationship with God, that's just going to be so good for you and so healthy. Especially because, I will say, a man with a relationship with God is going to have better morals. A true relationship with God. Now, I do know some Christian men, like my age especially, like people who go to my high school, who do like Young Life and other Christian groups, who I wouldn't say are the finest people morally. So it is important to discern between someone who's actually Christian and someone who just does the Christian things, like the Christian groups, because there's a huge difference. So you want to make sure, like, look beyond someone's words and the facade they put up, like if they go to Christian events, see the way they actually act. Because a man with a true relationship with God will have really good morals, and you'll be able to tell. Like, you won't have to worry about them cheating on you, and you're not going to have to worry about, like, this is kind of, like, going to become taboo, but it really has to be said. Like, a man who has sexual immorality, I would stay away. I would really recommend staying away. This is also going to be kind of taboo, but I would say a man who has a really good relationship with God is likely going to be waiting until marriage. And that is a huge green flag in my book, like one of the biggest green flags, because that shows that a man has self-discipline and that he's like a long-term thinker, because he's thinking about like his future wife, and he wants to actually follow the scripture and even the like commandments in the Bible that are harder to follow, because that's one that not a lot of people want to follow. So if you find a man who is following that because he's read the Bible and takes it seriously, that is a huge green flag in my opinion. That is like one of the biggest. So I would say go for people who have a relationship with God, because they're going to have better morals, you're going to be better able to trust them, and you're going to like have a more pure relationship with them, a more pure, unconditional love. I just realized I really need to hurry up because I'm only on like green flag 4 out of like 12. So I'm going to try to do a better job being quick with these. Number 4 is consistent effort with you. Someone who communicates consistently and never leaves you in a state of confusion as to where things are between you. Someone who makes it clear he's pursuing you and also makes it clear if he sees you as someone he wants in his future. I also can't overstate how important this is. The right person is not going to make you feel confused. You don't want someone who brings stress into your life, and I will say, like, as a woman especially, that is so bad for you, because, you know, when you're stressed, your body releases more cortisol, and cortisol is bad for you in like every way. Not only will you be like less able to focus, you're going to be more tired, you're going to have fatigue, even your face starts to swell up. Look up cortisol face if you don't believe me. Your face starts to swell up, you get really bad acne, and all of this comes from having like an inconsistent man in your life. So it's not worth it. Trust me. I've been there before, actually. You know, back in November, I mentioned I was talking to this guy, really successful, but not consistent at all, not a good communicator. You should have seen my face. I might actually put a picture. My face was so inflamed with acne because of all the stress I was experiencing, both from college applications and his inconsistency. It was horrible. Like, I literally felt like so ashamed of my own face for a while, because it was just like, I've never broken out like that before. It was horrible. Like, there was just no hiding it. And that was after I quit makeup too. So like, I didn't want to cover it up because I was still like on my journey of learning to like love my natural face. And now I'm at a point where like I only wear makeup for special occasions. So originally I just quit it cold turkey, like no makeup at all, not even for like my birthday or anything. Now, like for podcast episodes, like I'm fine wearing makeup. If I'm like going on a date, sure, like I'll wear makeup. But it's not something I feel like I need. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. The important thing is like, I was not doing too well back then because I was talking to someone inconsistent. You really can't underestimate just like how bad it can be to talk to someone inconsistent in terms of your stress levels. It's hard to feel happy if you're always on like an emotional roller coaster, never knowing like if someone's going to text you back or not. You should not have to worry about that. You should not have to worry about getting a response from someone or getting like consistent text messages or having people who actually like type out full sentences to you. You should not have to worry about that. And furthermore, if someone communicates consistently with you, but they're not really making it clear whether they like you or not, or if they're pursuing you, don't. I will say from my experience, that usually means they're kind of interested in you, but they have other options. Like you're a back burner option. And I'm sorry to say that because it's not what anyone wants to hear. But I say it because you deserve better. You deserve someone who sees you as like their top option. And so if someone's not explicitly like making it clear or at least giving hints that they want to date you, or if you've been talking to someone for a long time and they still haven't asked you on a proper date, no, you can do better. A green flag is someone who makes it clear that they want to take you on a date and they want to pursue you, because a godly man will pursue you. Like, we see that over and over again in the Bible. Godly men, like, they pursued their wives. Like, they have direction and they're confident enough to like point out the direction for your relationship instead of making you wonder like where things are headed, you know? Like, a godly man will give you clarity and peace. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but if something's from God, then it brings you peace and it brings you joy. But if something's not from God, you're constantly going to be confused. So go for someone who communicates consistently and makes it clear where the relationship is going and if they're going to be a part of your future, because that will be a really good green flag that it's from God if it brings you that level of peace. Okay, green flag number 5 is someone who works hard and has a plan for the future. Someone who is self-disciplined and is taking care of their life and keeping it organized, because this is the important part. This shows that they're capable of taking care of you too, because a man who cannot even take care of his own life is not going to be able to take care of you. You do not want to put your eggs in that basket. If a man can't even take care of himself and like has no plan for his future at all, just spare yourself. Because there are plenty of men out there who do have a very clear-cut idea of where they're going. And sure, they may not have it all figured out down to like the exact company they want to work at one day. But the important thing is that they're hardworking, they're putting in the effort, and they do like have long-term plans of getting a house or like graduating from college, or if they're not doing college, at least doing something to make money. So you do not want to go for someone who just sits around playing like video games and just wasting their time, because that person is not really going to be able to take care of you the way that a godly man should take care of the woman that he's dating. So I think it's really important that you find someone who's ambitious, because that'll also bring out the best in you. Like, I'm very ambitious, and for me, it would be like a deal breaker if someone wasn't also ambitious and didn't work hard. Because men who work hard are like really just, they tend to treat you better. They're like more disciplined. They're usually better communicators too. They just tend to have a lot of good traits. And I'm really lucky to be dating someone who has like a really incredible work ethic. And so it's really just something wonderful to see. And I advise that you do that, because you want to make sure that as a woman, you're taken care of. And there's nothing wrong with making sure that you're like financially taken care of in the future. I do believe like you shouldn't be entirely financially dependent on a man. I don't think that that's healthy. And you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you risk, like, let's say you get divorced one day and then you have nothing because you don't have a job, you don't have a college degree. That's bad. But what I will say is there's nothing wrong with choosing someone who like will make enough money so that one day if you want a family, you can afford to pay to have kids, you know? Like, let's say you're sick and you have medical bills and you can't work to pay them. Would he be able to pay them? You want to choose someone who just has that added level of financial security, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as like you're bringing in your own money too. I say like it's really important that you choose someone who also knows what they're doing with money. Someone who's responsible when it comes to their money. That's a good thing. And there's nothing wrong with looking for that and seeing that as a green flag when you're like kind of analyzing a man. The next green flag, and probably the final green flag for this episode, because I'm going to make a part 2. I've decided it's too long and there's too many good ones I really want to have the time to explain. So don't worry, like I think maybe not next week, but the week after that, I'm going to release the part 2, and then we're going to go over more things that are like such good things to find in men. So the last one for this episode is someone who's intelligent, someone who likes to read and learn new things. This is really good. Someone who's intelligent, I want to say, firstly, intelligent guys are really funny. It's really easy to laugh and crack jokes with someone who's smart. And it's a lot harder to crack jokes with someone who is not as smart. And communication is also harder with a man who's not intelligent. So it's really good if a man is intelligent. because intelligent men tend to treat you better too. Just because they know like right from wrong, and they know enough to know that it would be a mistake to like treat you poorly. So go for someone intelligent. That's really good if they like to learn, because it shows that they're like grateful for the opportunities that they have to learn. And I find that really attractive. Someone who likes to read, that's a huge green flag. Like if a guy is into reading books, yeah, like total green flag in my opinion, because it shows that they're like interested in learning about perspectives other than just their own if they're reading fiction. And if they're reading nonfiction, maybe even better. I really like someone who's like willing to work on their flaws. Like if they're reading self-help books, that's a huge green flag. I don't think there's anything embarrassing about that. So if you find someone who likes to read, I see that as a really good thing. I will say like all the best men I know are readers. Generally, men who read, they're, as I said, like intelligent, and they're people who are humble. It shows a level of humility. That's something I really want to say, because to know that you don't know it all, that's a very good trait. So people who are always learning more things, that shows that they have a level of humility, and humility is another really important trait that's a huge green flag in a guy. So like my boyfriend reads a lot of books, and I think that that's a really good thing, and I like that a lot. So my boyfriend reads a lot of books, and I joke about it because I don't like some of the philosophy books he reads because they're kind of, depressing. But I will say philosophy books, better than no books at all. I still think that that's a green flag if someone is willing to read books and become a better person and try to think of other perspectives of life other than their own. So that's going to be all the green flags for this episode, but there will be a part 2 coming. So if you want to stay tuned for the part 2, which will have honestly maybe even better ones, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. I should try to post it like maybe 2 weeks from now. And it'll be really good. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I am so glad that you came here, and I hope that you can find a good guy now that you know what you're looking for, because knowing what you're looking for makes all the difference in weeding out the wrong people. Because when you see these good traits in someone, that's really good. Like then you know, hey, like I want to keep my eye on you because I see that you have all these positive traits. And if you're fortunate like me and you find someone who has all of the traits, like you should stick with them, because that's a really big blessing. And I do believe that when God gives you someone who has all of these green flags and who is a good man, that's a huge blessing as a woman, and that can really up-level your life in so many ways. So keep your eyes peeled for people who have these qualities. And if you want to keep up with the podcast, follow the podcast Instagram at Personal Growth Project Official. If you want to read stuff similar to these podcast episodes, then you can follow my newsletter. It should be newsletter.abigaillang.com, and I'll link it below. It's a Substack newsletter, and I publish things semi-regularly on there, and people have said they really like them because it's like a more vulnerable space for me to share things, especially like lessons I'm learning and how they apply to my personal life. So I think you'll like it. So that's it. I will see you guys in the next week's episode, and thank you so much for being here today.